Hello, Stephen White here again. It's Madonna's 61st birthday, and I just did a video sort of talking about fandom and like how I felt about Madonna and celebrating her birthday and what I was going to do. And then I just sort of thought about merchandise, and I've been really impressed by so many people's collections that I've seen on Facebook groups and stuff. But I haven't seen a lot of videos, and I thought, no, I'm just going to do a little video of my stuff, even though it's not a lot. I actually had more. I got rid of some stuff a few years ago. I've had it fallen out with Madonna a few times because she didn't tour, so I had hissy fits, and I think I threw some stuff out, and I just don't have a lot of room, so I had to get rid of a lot of stuff. So, but I still have a lot of books and stuff, and I enjoy seeing other people's stuff. Even if there's only one or two items I don't have or haven't seen, it's just interesting to see. So maybe someone here will see something they don't have, or they saw and didn't buy, or they've seen online and just haven't bought. So I'm just going to go through my stuff. So now, first off, I guess, books. Now, this a friend gave to me. I saw it years ago in some little, one of the first sort of cheap, going out of sort of sale sort of bookstores where they were selling off cheap books and that. And I didn't buy it. I kept thinking, oh, I should get it because it was really cheap. And I didn't. And then a friend bought it, and then he, I don't know, got over it, and he gave it to me. And I always thought it was really interesting. It's got a lot of little illustrations of Madonna art and just all about people's relationship to Madonna, and I just thought it was interesting. So I'm always going to hold on to this one, and I just think it's kind of pretty. Although I didn't really like the Who's That Girl era, kind of next to the Madame X era. It's probably not my favourite. They're probably the only two eras that I didn't really click with. But it's still an okay picture. I wish they'd use any other image for the cover, but it's good. Now, this is more interesting. The Madonna in Art book, which I saw, they did Marilyn in art and Diana in art as well. And it's got a lot of illustrations of photos and paintings that people have done of Madonna. And a lot of it's really beautiful and really interesting, and she's obviously inspired a lot of people. And some are a little bit more ordinary, but, you know, whatever. I mean, I don't do a lot of fan art myself. I find things like this, like just copying a photo that you've seen or a video, I don't find it has much artistic merit, but a lot of the people who've done some of the art in here have interpreted and really been inspired by Madonna to create an image or something that's not just copying a photo, basically. Like, and even though this is beautiful work, photorealism doesn't do a lot for me. I mean, you can appreciate the technique, but it doesn't say much to me. Even something like this, it expresses more to me than just someone copying something like that, where it's just, I could just look at the photo. I probably shouldn't be critiquing this so much because, you know, shut up and just show people. So this is interesting. I should do separate reviews of some of these books, because like I said, sometimes people don't have them. Okay, you've got your own book. Why do you need to look at mine? Well, if you don't have it, maybe the only time you ever get to see it in someone else's video or something. And that's something I've appreciated with other people's stuff. So I might do, I've been thinking of doing a little bit of that, but I need to raise my quality of videos a little bit before it's really worth. I did a couple of unboxings for the Madonna Madame X CDs, and I kind of enjoyed that. A few people actually watched that, so that was cool. But I feel like I could have done a better job. So I've seen some other people do very good presentations of the booklets and stuff. So, but I always loved this book. The Marilyn in art wasn't quite as interesting. Like, there were a lot more just photorealistic pictures, and the Diana in art wasn't very interesting also. I think Madonna inspired the most interesting, unique art. And now we go to the bios. Now, this is one of the first ones I ever found. And I'm sure a few people have seen it. I know it was advertised in some magazines for a while, so I saw the cover a lot of times before I actually saw it. And it only goes as far as really 89. But it had a lot of images in it. And, you know, it was the first, I think it was the first proper Madonna book I had. So it got a lot of wear and tear and a lot of wear. I spent a lot of time looking at it. And some of the images were really beautiful that I'd never seen before. So it's got a little bit of a space in my heart. But I liked this one better just simply because it was a nicer cover. I didn't. That's sort of the post. Post Who's That Girl? Not quite like a prayer sort of Madonna, and this was the 1990s sort of pre-erotica Madonna, which I loved. So I think those photos were in 91. But basically same thing. And a lot of these bios are the same thing. And the problem with them is they basically, since Madonna pretty much does something every year or every few months, they become out of date very quickly. You sort of have to just cover a certain amount of eras or just stop at the end of an era and just leave it at that and accept that people will read it up to that point and then wait a while and then, update themselves for the next couple of eras. But I'm guessing that's what people do. Now I loved getting this because Evita was a big deal and there was a fair amount of merchandising with Evita, more so than some of the other films. And I got a very beautiful program when I saw the film, and there were flyers in the cinemas, and this is just interesting. It's a really good quality making of, obviously done by the people who actually made it. It's not like a fan one where people are just using paparazzi pictures or something. It's all very, obviously they were shooting the photos for this sort of marketing, and it's just really beautiful and in depth and in detail, and I was really happy to find this and buy this. And I love Evita, so whenever I watch the film I would usually sit down and look through this as well. I normally pull this out every time I watch the film. Which just reminds me, I don't know where the actual booklet is, but whatever. I might do a separate thing on that later, because I don't know how much they vary between countries and how many people had them. So some people, they might not be a lot of collectors with them. This Madonna style, I remember getting excited when I saw this because I hadn't seen a decent Madonna book for a little while, because she'd been a bit quiet with Evita and Something to Remember and that. It wasn't really till Ray of Light that she sort of got the general public's interest again, and there was a bit more merchandising out there. This was the first book I remember finding after that had a lot of images and a lot of artwork, and was really worth getting excited about and having a look at. I actually love Nikki Finn. I loved Who's That Girl, but I didn't really like her look for that era. I didn't really like the Who's That Girl tour, and a few people who that was their main tour when they were growing up, that's the one they got the most affection for, was sort of like, how dare you not love it? But I mean God, look at that. So many amazing images of Madonna, and she's one of those artists who you really can just produce volumes of books and information on, as opposed to some other people who really just have one look. And like Ariana Grande, if someone did a book on Ariana Grande, it'd be the same haircut, the same picture, the same image, and pretty much just her outfits might change a little bit, and still style-wise she doesn't change much. So Madonna's far more interesting, and there's so many looks and so many eras, you forget. It's just nice to have it all recorded and look back on it. Now, Guy has done, and I met Guy a couple of times, he seemed quite nice. I don't know if he did a lot of photos for Rebel Heart. I didn't see a lot. I don't know if they didn't do a book. I don't know if something might come out later. But they did. He did a few photographic books of her tours. I know of a couple. I can't remember which tours he did them for, but he's done a couple. I managed to get this one. And it's quite beautiful. A lot of the shots are really nice and interesting, and he obviously had a lot of access, and yeah, this is great. I mean, and I got it when the era was still alive, so it was very much, this was my Madonna at the moment, so it was good. Whereas a lot of the other books, you're sort of looking back because of the fact of her changing look and her changing everything. Like I said, in the moving eras, you're usually looking at when you're looking at a book or something or a documentary, it's looking at what's already passed, that you're already sort of moved past, and you're into the current Madonna, but you're looking back at older Madonna. So it was good to get this and some of the other books that are actually current, and again, they're not current for very long. Like this one, it was a new book, but they stuck the girly show on the cover. I'm like, what the hell? When is this? But it had a lot of photos, little text, a lot of photos. I'm sorry if if my camera keeps dipping, because I'm kind of looking at what I'm looking at, and I keep forgetting I'm supposed to be making a video. But so you get a lot of alternative shots as opposed to the ones that you're used to seeing in the media all the time. And like that one, we forget, she kissed Christina as well, thanks to their stupid cutting to the shot of JT, like, oh, JT's going to be jealous because Britney's kissing Madonna. Oh, like, who cares? I want to see Britney kissing Madonna. I want to see the performance, not him sitting in the audience. Jesus. But so I'm glad at least there's some good photos of that, even if there isn't the official footage of it. There's only a second of her. Now, this is one of my big losses. I had a lot of Madonna posters, and my sister, God bless her, she was a Madonna fan for the Virgin era, like a Virgin era, and she turned on Madonna and Like a Prayer. So by the time we got to stuff like this, I had that poster. I got that poster off someone who knew I was a huge fan and gave it to me, someone from a store. I used to sometimes get stuff when I was lucky. I had that up. I loved it. My sister literally got a big black marker and drew things on it I won't even mention. And she did that with all my Madonna posters. I had like all Madonna's posters. I had like all the album ones, like the tour ones. I had my walls, which is like each wall had like 3 or 4 posters, and my sister just went along and just drew on all of them and ruined all of them. And they're all collector's editions now, and they're all destroyed. And at some point, I'll probably have to buy some of them again. I probably wouldn't get the Who's That Girl tour ones again, but I still want the Like a Prayer album one. I want this one, but so I'm still bitter about that because I had a lot of Madonna posters, and most of them were destroyed, and the rest are lost. A lot of my stuff. Sorry, I just should have been flipping through. A lot of my stuff was left at my mother's, and my brother, I think, put it in a garage, and rain, dampness, they all got wet and mouldy, and I had to throw it all out. Now, this is actually a collection of stickers from like the $2 shop, like Madonna stickers, because, Madonna was cool. And she just kept popping up in all this cool little merchandise, and also this fake merchandise, all the whoever's popular they think they can make money out of, so I'm glad that she got sort of the rip-off $2 shop sort of treatment, just like everyone else. So that was that one. Again, they've got the Like a Virgin era on the back, which is kind of okay if you've got a contemporary picture at the front, but this was way after Girly Show. I don't know what they were thinking. Now this is probably one of the more recent books that I got. I just thought it was beautiful. I don't know if anyone else has it, how many people looked at it, but a fair amount of text, but pretty much an equal amount of image. Pretty much there's a photo for every page. So I had a lot of Madonna, like just books, like little biographies, and I ended up scanning a lot of them since I couldn't find them as ebooks, and keeping them to read just for a source of information. But they took up space, and they're really just chunks of wood. They're just paper, a block of paper. I just really kept my Madonna coffee table books, which I didn't have as many as I thought. I need to buy more. There's a few online I don't have that I can get. But so one of the reasons why I love this one was because there was a lot of images and still a lot of text, because some of the photo ones are very much just photos. So, and like the other problem that I mentioned, it goes into the films last. So you sort of you go along in chronology, and then you jump back, and then you go, and they sort of don't go as far as today, which always happens because they're outdated pretty much 6 months to a year after they're released. And this one's similar. It was more bio, more text, but pretty much had an image for every page as well, which I do enjoy. I should be reading more, but I shouldn't just have picture books of Madonna, but it's nice to see. Now we come to the magazines. Now, I don't have a lot of Madonna magazines. I had a few that ended up getting tossed as well. But this was the Dick Tracy, which I wasn't actually going to look through, but I guess I may as well. I guess this is just going to be a long video, because if you're interested, you're going to watch it. If you're not interested, you're not even going to look at it. So, but this is your standard official movie souvenir magazine. But of course, it's got pictures of, oh, who's that? It's Madonna, the star of the movie. So, of course, I had to get it. Although I love Dick Tracy on its own. Even if she hadn't been in it, I would have loved that film. It was a true comic book coming to life, unlike some other comic book films, which are just crap. This created its own universe and its own look based off of something which wasn't real, because making comic books realistic kind of, in a way, doesn't totally work, because I'm not even going to get into that. But it was unique. It was beautiful. I love it. I saw it for the first time on the big screen thanks to Cinemaniacs, which is a local Melbourne fan group that puts together annual movie marathons, and they have like a theme. And this year was that year was Oscars, so because it's got the Oscar for makeup, because a couple of people in the group are Madonna fans, so whenever they can fit Madonna into one of the marathons, like they did a New York marathon, so they had Desperately Seeking Susan, because that's a New York film, because it's all set in New York, and they did Dick Tracy. So I finally got to see it on the big screen, and despite seeing a few, I had a little book on the film, which was like a little novel or storybook. I got rid of it. I just pulled the pictures out, which had Madonna in it. So I've done that with a lot of things where I haven't really been a good collector, and I've thrown things out that I probably should have kept, or I've just taken... Sometimes I just strip the cover off a book and throw the actual book out and just keep the cover in a folio so I can see the cover and the artwork. And some people would be absolutely just offended and just in shock that any collector would do something like that. Like, you know, they try not to get folds and creases, and as soon as I buy a book, I bend it over and fold down the crease so it's now owned, it's creased, it's mine. It's the first thing I do. And other people, they spend their whole lives looking through the book without trying not to crease that that line, which, what am I talking about here? Like here, that line that you have that just it's built into the book. That's where it's supposed to crease. And some people try not to, they're so fanatic about, like, the comic book people who, I'm not even going to get into all that. But so I love this, and I need to spend a bit less time looking at it. I should do a proper review of some of this stuff separately. But this was cool. This is like the Blonde Ambition World Tour book, and it's all pictures from the Blonde Ambition Tour. And there were some of these sort of books that were available to buy. Like you could order them from magazines, like this. You look in the back and you say, oh my God, there's Madonna magazines. I still want that one. I still want that Like a Prayer one. I saw it on eBay a little while ago and didn't buy it because I'm an idiot. But I will get it one day. And there's a few of these ones, partly just because I've looked at the covers my whole life. I want to see inside the books. And this was a random one, which, again, I wasn't planning to actually open up all of these and do this. So that's why I'm doing this one-handed awkwardly. So I apologise, but it's easier than stopping the video. Although I could probably edit it out later. I'm too lazy. This was one done around the time of Evita, obviously, and had a lot of good images, because in the early days, I didn't have much money, obviously, as a student, and also there wasn't a lot around, so I just ended up with a few old magazines that some people gave to me and were still available. And this is one of the ones that was the most recent that I had for a while, and it had a lot of images, the current images, and it was really good. It's quite thick. This I think it was 100 something pages. This one was in TV Hits when Madonna was touring, so I don't know where I got that from. But the thing I loved about this for years was it had, when they looked at her, not only did it list all her songs and positions at the time, which only went up as far as Rain, because I hadn't even seen some of her. I couldn't afford to buy Madonna CDs and stuff when I was a kid. I loved her. I was a fan, but I couldn't actually buy anything really. So I had to. A lot of these I've only ever seen in images. Now I've found some of them later, but when it got to the movies, which I'm trying desperately to find, which I should know where this is, it actually had the box office for all of her movies, and I was like, oh my God, that's how much they made. This was before the internet, where you couldn't just find information. You had to, like, really struggle, and if you found something, you held on to it for years, and that was sometimes the only thing you had to look at. Now, recently there have been a few magazines that were released, although that was 20th anniversary. So that one, I think that was about 2003. So occasionally you'll get magazines who will pretty much do a whole issue on Madonna. They regularly publish books, but they'll do one on Madonna. So that's nice. A few of them. This one was more recent, although it's going with the classic look. Now this image, my sister had a poster of this on her wall when I was growing up, and it lasted for a long time. It eventually got taken down, and I actually stole it, and I still have it, because it was one of the first images of Madonna that I saw, and sort of it's got a lot of sentimental value. But so stuff like this, you get a lot of information in that, and it's just like it's almost basically like a book, because some of them are quite long, but obviously they're not as extensive as a coffee table book. And now the sex book, which I'm obviously not going to open. I finally got that the other year. I was too young to get it. No one would buy it for me. And then when I saw it in collector stores sealed, it was always too expensive. So I eventually bought one last year, sort of to celebrate that. And not long after that, she did the Girly Show book, where she did the tour. And that was interesting. I hadn't seen that for a long time. I finally got that a while ago and actually got to see inside it, because I'd just seen the cover. It had a CD, which I do have. And of course, even though I wasn't at the Girly Show tour, they were selling this in bookstores in Australia after she left. I guess they had some excess, or maybe a local company printed them, I don't know, but I ended up with one, and that was pretty amazing. I still have the little mask somewhere. And then of course the Rebel Heart tour, which I actually bought myself at the stadium, because I went. And I'm probably going to collect the other ones later, just to have them, but it didn't make much sense to have them if I didn't go there, so if I didn't actually attend the tour. That one I did. This one, it was selling, like I said, at the newsagents. It was selling in the bookstores, and even though I wasn't at the tour, I was aware of it, so I kind of felt something towards the Girly Show that I didn't with the others, so I felt okay to have that. And this, of course, was the VIP booklet, which I just ended up keeping one. I had ended up with a couple, but this was had a lot of information about the tours. It was more of a book on her tours in general, and that was pretty good. And I bought one little poster to go with it, because I just needed something extra. I got the share one as well, just because I remember seeing it around. And the last book I didn't really look at was the Madonna Nudes. My brother bought this for me, I think, when he thought I was still straight. So I can't open that, because I don't know if you can show boobs on YouTube. But now the DVDs. I think my video might run out soon, so I might just stop it, and that'll be part one. I'll do a part two.